Island they were called Philly.
So I just got back from watching the movie Sinners. Here's the review. By far, this is the movie to beat for 2025. This might be the best movie I've seen in quite a long time, and that's saying a lot. Ryan Coogler outdid himself in this movie. Before I get to the deconstruction of Christianity of it all, let me give you a basic review of the movie. Basically, what you have here is a movie that is set in Mississippi in the 1930s. It is set against the backdrop of Jim Crow, but is also set against the backdrop of how society was moving at that time. The fact that one of the most brilliant scenes was a one shot. This is a brilliant one shot. The cinematography is amazing, but a brilliant one shot showing how Chinese immigrants had migrated into the Mississippian culture at that time frame, and they were part of that diverse society, demonstrates the trueness of history that is often overshadowed. Most of the time when you see movies of these timepieces, it only demonstrates the black and the white of it all. The Jim Crow and the KKK of it all is generally what they all demonstrate. This movie basically is trying to show, well, it's not trying, it showed in multiple layers and in depth. And I got to talk about the music by itself, how culture of that time, of that era, how when you want to build something, when you want to grow something, that there are those vampires within society who will often and always try to destroy whatever you built. That the a dream and the idea that we are all family and equal is lost on many. The movie demonstrates how when these two brothers, who's played by whose his name just fell out my head, but these two brothers, when they go off to Chicago and they go off to World War One, they fight for America, yet come home to a situation where the best thing that they could do to build anything is to become criminals. And after they criminal enterprises in Chicago, they come back home and try to come back home and build something that they can have of their own in their community, knowing full well the struggles that they may have to deal with, seeing as how the overwhelming majority of people were sharecroppers. But the reason why the juke joint was so important, and it demonstrates why it was so important back then and so important still today, to be able to come and be in a place where music and the vibration and the frequency of music gives you this freedom that you generally cannot have. They came back to open a juke joint because throughout the whole movie, there's a theme of them looking for the freedom that they had aspired to, that they thought that they would get when they came back from World War II and was in Chicago. And they enlisted their friends to help them to run this business, build this business. But the freedom was still very elusive because right in this first scene of buying what they thought was a meal, they had to give a warning to the white man to tell him, if you come darken our acreage, we will shoot you. We will kill you. Which did come to fruition in one of the latter scenes of the movie. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, I do recommend that it's a movie that you go see, because the vampire aspect of it, which was done initially using the Irish culture, and I thought it was brilliant to use the Irish culture for this. And they paid true homage to that Irish culture respectfully. I mean, I was tapping my toes to the Irish music done by vampires, but not in some Diary of a Vampire, that bullshit that people been watching, or some gory medieval style, but vampires in a time frame where the world was industrialized, but also ruled at the same time, where there was racial strife, but not only racial strife, but using the Irish to show how there was, the Irish were treated just a hair better than the black people. And in that, how the vampire idea of they all can be family, the Irish and the black, the the people who are suffering together, the people who are oppressed together, who have been oppressed, to be able to bring that into light. Because in the 1930s, the Irish were looked down upon, similar to black people in the United States. So to bring that aspect of the movie in there, I thought was incredibly brilliant. And like I said, the music, it demonstrated how the music in this movie is so powerful, and the different types of music, style of music, and how music transcends time and space and culture. And the vibration and frequency of music draws people together, but also gives them that freedom. The movie was brilliant. Cinematography was great. Now, of course, you want to know about the part that put Christians in an uproar. If you've been paying attention to what people have been saying, the Christians have been in an uproar, saying the movie is demonic. Don't go see it. I had to go and pray and get myself blessed with holy water and get the blood of Jesus to cover me before I went to go see this movie. Well, you probably shouldn't have went to see it if you got to do all that. And I thought that by the time I'm seeing it at a matinee, that I wouldn't have to see any of that demonstrated. But right after one of the most pivotal points of the movie that Christians would find insulting, possibly, a woman had to get up. I thought she'd just gone to the bathroom, but she never returned. She missed the culmination of the last third of the movie, which is oftentimes, like a good cigar, the best part of a movie. To see all this brilliant storyline being told and to see how it culminates, she gets up and walks out. Why? She got up and walked out because in one of the most eye-opening scenes that tells you the entirety of the movie, you see the vampires they were pretty much winning. And they had gotten to a point where the vampire, who was after the one young man whose music he had the gift of music to transcend time and space. And there was a beautiful scene to demonstrate this earlier in the movie when he first played in the juke joint, of how different music genres was mixed in and different dance styles were mixed in with his blues music that was in the past and in the future and in the present, and different styles for everything from twerking to African dance to Chinese ballet, everything. All of it was part. And it was choreographed and mixed in perfectly together to show the power of music. And the vampires wanted him. And in one of the speeches, when he was holding him in the water, holding the main character, Sammy in the water, literally baptizing him, they both began to say the Christian Lord's Prayer. But as they were saying the Christian Lord's Prayer, at the end of it, the vampire, the primary vampire, he gives this speech, and he tells him that, yes, when he was a little boy, his father used to gave him that prayer. And although this religion had been forced on the Irish and forced on black people, forced on their people, a religion that promised freedom but brings about oppression and has been utilized to oppress people, that there's still a tinge of comfort within that prayer. But he recognized that this was forced on his people and black people, on the Irish and the African that was brought to the Americas, on the natives in America. It was forced on them. And so there is no freedom in a religion that was forced on you. But he was telling him that he brings freedom and family, that they all could become one and united through vampirism. And that's when she had to get up and walk out after that speech was made, because many Christians will probably find it offensive to have to listen to someone talk about how the religion that they believe in was forced on their ancestors, that it has brought more death and destruction than it's done anything else in its existence. And that can be troubling to a person who has that belief. Now, other parts of the movie that if she wanted to walk out on would have been when one of the brothers, the twin brothers, could have was meeting with his former love, and he still loved her, but was meeting with her, and she was a Louisiana hoodoo worker, and she had given him a hoodoo patch. Well, no, she didn't call it that. She didn't call it a hoodoo patch. She called it like a mojo bag, and she reaffirmed his mojo bag, and it was the mojo bag that allowed him to defeat his brother when he was being attacked as a vampire. It was the mojo bag that would not allow the vampire to be able to bite him. It was the mojo bag that had more power over vampirism. It wasn't Christianity, wasn't anything like that. Now, of course, they had some of the tropes, the wooden stakes to the heart so that the soul can be freed from the body of the person who's become a vampire, the eating of garlic because it will harm them, the holy water, and of course, the sunlight. It had all those other tropes that you normally see in a vampire movie, based on the folklore. But it is the aspect of the other magical powers, the other religious powers that enabled him to save himself from becoming a vampire, where a vampire couldn't actually bite him. That it wasn't crosses, it wasn't saying a prayer, none of the Christian things, other than possibly the holy water. But no other Christian thing was part of defeating the vampire. All modern technologies, guns and things couldn't defeat the vampire. It was the eating of, it was the pickle and garlic water. It was nature, basically. Natural nature things that were able to defeat the vampire. And nothing with any religion that was able to do it. And as there was one brief part where the Native Americans were tracking the vampire, looking to kill the vampire. They understood through their spirituality how to kill the vampire. And when it started to get dark, they knew it was time for them to get the hell on too. So the best time to feed them is in the sunlight. But I think this movie showed a lot of how there are people from other religions and other spiritualities where they understand how nature, the ones that understand how nature works. And it spoke of this in the beginning and the opening of the movie, of how you had different shamanic people and understanding the powers of nature. And in the understanding that power of nature, they're able to defeat what people may call demonic or evil over forced religions that we have today that are pretty much just man-made. But the movie didn't have a whole bunch beyond that I didn't see. I mean, it has some amulets that you can read into, casting bones that you can read into. There were certain aspects of it like that you can read into. And I would love to hear what you guys' thoughts are. But Sinners was, I'm going to have to take my wife to see it because we thought it was going to be with the jump scare, gory, but it's really not. It's not that bad. I think she'll enjoy it. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.